the official Zoomcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. He's an American guitar legend and musical director for the Conan O'Brien Show. Hear untold stories from Jimmy and his musical guests. They will talk music, its influence, culture, and future on The Green Room with Jimmy Vivino, with special guest Britt Lightning.
Something going on in the green room, people. Something going on in the green room right now. Hey, welcome back to the Green Room with Jimmy Vivino, with me, Jimmy Vivino, in the green room. And today my guest is Britt Lightning, lead guitarist for the band Vixen, and also just somebody who, for a young lady, has been in this business a long time and has covered a lot of ground already, and I hope to cover some more with her tonight. And come on along in the green room right now.
Hi.
Oh, there you are. Hey.
Hello. How you doing?
Where are you?
I am at my place in Los Angeles right now. How about you?
I'm in Burbank, and I'm looking at your guitars on the wall. Don't mind me. I'm not being rude, but I just love them. Aren't they all so beautiful? Yeah.
You know, that's why you need them all.
Well, no, it's a toolbox. You know, I always go through this with the companies that I endorse or endorse me or whatever you want to call it. And they all have to understand that I'm going to need a Fender and a Gibson, and I'm going to need, you know, at least those two things, you know, and then there's other boutique things that you want. I noticed you were, what were you playing? What
Jackson.
Jackson. Yeah, but it looked like a new Jackson. Is that a?
It sort of is. You know, that was a custom one. I think I got that made in like 2009.
Yeah, with a Floyd on it. I imagine some sort of dive bombing device.
Yes, yes. My band loves me to have that.
Well, you don't mind that we just jumped right into guitars, but that's cool because look at that one. I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me. I'm pointing at that Les Paul with the Floyd.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a Kaler or a Floyd or what it is.
That is a Floyd. That is a Floyd. It was so funny because I just had a conversation with a band that I was playing with, and they were like, "We want you to, you know, have a Floyd Rose and do dive bombs and stuff." And I was like, but I was really in my Les Paul phase, and I was like, "No, I want to play the Les Paul." And then I happened to be on a layover, and I had time to kill, and found a used guitar store in Omaha in a snowstorm. My flight got delayed, and this guy was on the wall, and I was like, I was just like manifesting that.
You had to have it though. And so what are the pickups in there?
These are Duncans.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I mean, I was going to talk to you about this stuff later, but let's talk about it now because we're just kind of rolling in this. It's very informal. It's like us just sitting around. I was on the phone with Kathy Duncan this morning, who is the CEO there.
Oh, yeah. Very
good friend of mine. And Seymour's an old buddy of mine. And MJ, by the way, I don't know if you know her, if you've been there in Santa Barbara to the factory.
I haven't.
I'm going to give you a phone number to call. Because I said, you guys need to have Britt in your family, you know, and the Duncan family. I don't know if I don't want to step on anyone else's toes whose pickups you may be endorsing.
No, that's what I use. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, well, then you guys need to talk. And also my friends at Gibson need to talk to you, I think, because they need to build your own model with the Floyd in it.
I agree. Yes. I was talking to them about that. I was like, you guys don't make the Diablo anymore, that SG with the cool Floyd that they had. And
did you talk to Beth Height at all?
That's who you need to talk to.
See, I'll give you the numbers
later
on. You got to talk to the right people, and you know, and this will bring us full right around to the crux of this. My questions for you. Gibson has really femaled it up, okay? As far as their artist reps, as far as their players, the world is, as we can see, you and I come from way before you. You're kind of right in between, you know, of the kids that are coming up now. And when you were a kid, what was the fearlessness of being a lead guitar player? I mean, what sparked that in you?
You know what? It was after the 80s, but it was hearing Eruption. And I know that's so cliche, but it really was. I was always into music, but I was like, grew up in the 90s. So I was more into 90s hip hop, believe it or not. That's kind of what I listened to.
No, but all of that's important, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, it was the grunge era and I wasn't super into that. And so I was into the hip hop stuff and I played flute, you know, growing up in school and stuff like that. And then it was the summer before high school started and I was comforter shopping with my mom. And in these outlet stores in New Hampshire. I'm from Boston and we were up there for the summer and I was so bored and just like, you know, looking at comforters and I heard Eruption. And I think it was a combination of the extreme boredom and just like anything else that I could focus on. But I was so zoned in on that and I couldn't believe it. And I hadn't heard anything like it and I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know it was a guitar. And then I asked my mom, she didn't know what it was. And then I asked somebody in the store what it was. And they were like, that's Van Halen.
That's Van Halen, dude.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know. And so then I was like, Mom, there's a record store, you know, Newberry Comics, you know, right next door.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm doing this for you. I think you owe me some records. So I went and I bought like all the Van Halen records.
Oh, that's smart. All of them.
And then I was like, okay, that's it. I'm trading in the flute for the guitar. And
well, the flute, what is it about? What is it about? I don't know if it's a cultural thing that's a throwback where girls and the flute, you know, here, it's like here that we walk into a band room here's your instrument. Here's your flute, you know?
Totally. Well, you know, it's like dainty. It's like, it's like more tangible, I think. Like the other ones kind of seem masculine, like the big brass and I don't know. It just.
Well, you have to mess up your mouth with an embouchure to play a brass instrument. The flute is more delicate, you know, but here nor there, you didn't continue playing the flute. What was this around? How old were you when you decided guitar and what?
15.
How did that happen?
Yeah, 15. It was that day I decided. And
oh wow! So you had high aspirations.
Yeah, and you know I didn't have any aspirations to be in a band or anything like that. It was just to play that song that I had heard, Eruption, and that was it. I just wanted to be able to do that and then go on with my life.
Well, that's a high bar at least to play that.
That was the current goal. That's all I could focus on. And, but didn't think of ever playing in a band or anything like that till later. But yeah, it was a few weeks after that I borrowed a friend's guitar because my parents were like, you know, I don't know if you're not going to stick with it. We don't want to invest, you know, don't you have a friend you can borrow? And so anyways, I found somebody, borrowed a guitar, but really loved it. And then my dad was finally like, okay, you can get a guitar. I'll take you guitar shopping, as a matter of fact. And
well, you got past that. If I may, you got past that. The hardest period for most of us who pick it up for the first time. That's the blisters, the pressing down on the strings. A lot of people give up right away when they realize, oh, it looks so easy when Eddie's doing that, or Jimmy's doing that, or Stevie's doing that, or Nancy Wilson. It looks so easy when they're doing it, but. You know, how much of a labor was that at first for you?
You know, it hurt a little more than I expected, but I didn't mind it at all. And I never let that stop me. And I kind of was like, this is cool. These are like my battle scars. And it's so funny because I never used to clean the guitar, clean the strings. Like the dirtier they were, the better. So that like after I played, my fingers were like gray and black and gross. And I love that. I like wouldn't wash my hands and I'd just be like, I'm cool. Like it was kind of.
Well, it is cool. It is cool. You know, and I can always, when I see a guitarist, I want to see your fingers. You know, I want to see that, you know, and after a while, it starts, and I use my thumb a lot. So on my right hand, so I have it over here, you know, I have it on my other three fingers that I use. But did you start on an acoustic or did you get an electric to mess around with right away?
I went straight to electric. I didn't want to waste any time. No.
Well, that's easier actually than picking up some clunky acoustic.
I don't know why they tell people to start on acoustic because it's the strings are so much thicker. I didn't play.
It's not gratifying either.
No, it's not. You don't feel like you get to really rock out right away.
So no lessons, right? Just by ear?
Yeah, by ear, by the Van Halen records, and then I got really into Metallica, so that was like a big one for me in the beginning too, big band influence. And then I ended up taking a couple lessons at a place down the street from my parents' house. Basically learning like first position chords and, and some scale. But after that, just didn't want to know the theory, didn't want to get too, it took the fun out of it. So I didn't really get too big into that at the time.
Well, you know what happens. There's a lot of, I'm involved with a lot of courses too with True Fire and other people about teaching. And mostly it's for people that already have picked it up and learned to play, and maybe they want to learn something. But the funny thing is, most of the things you see transcribed by Eddie or by Jimi Hendrix or by Stevie or by anybody, they couldn't even read it. They couldn't even read the tablature. They just created, the great music is just from the heart, and we all later try to take, dissect it and pick it apart. But they just go, and it's about the hours, right? Did you put a lot of hours in? And just because your playing is technically advanced, okay? It's, whether you know it or not, it's not, of course you have your blues hang out, and you have your probably all kinds of guitar playing that you've touched upon. But what drove you to, still, I guess it's the Van Halen thing, drove you to this heavier sound of playing?
Yeah. And then, and then I started going to high school and the kids were kind of into Metallica. So I wanted to be able to play Metallica with them. So I really was into that. And then from there, Megadeth and Pantera. And so I did really get into that, but I wish I still had the time that I did when I was learning at first, because I never left my room. Like there wasn't anywhere I'd rather be than just practicing guitar, in my bedroom. It was like the best thing ever. I spent hours and hours. Yeah.
So what was the first live music you saw that socked you in the gut like that, the way it does when you go to a rock concert and you just like, wow,
Yeah, you know what? I was late to that party, and I'll tell you, my parents were overprotective. Granted, I was a little bit of a wild kid, and so the first time I asked them to go to a concert, there was like No Doubt and Bush, and I was like, and they're like, I'm going with Joey or blah blah blah, and they were like, well, is Joey's dad going or something? And I was like, no, they're dropping us off, and then they're going to pick us up, and they were like, no chaperone, you're not going. And
are they Italians by any chance?
My dad is.
Somebody's from the North End.
Yeah. My real last name's De Niro.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And so then I was like, okay, got it right. Got to lie in the future. So then there was, I love Stone Temple Pilots, and they were playing this festival. And so that was like the one that I snuck off to, and just, it was amazing. It was everything I ever imagined it to be.
Oh, man. I just played with Stephen Perkins a couple of weeks ago. He's still out here. Have you played with him at all? He's out here.
I haven't played with him, but he's awesome. I know him. And
well, we got to get you on one of these Gibson shows. You got to come out and play. We put these bands together, and we just do Gibson things, and you end up getting free guitars and But, and we put bands, and Steven has been the drummer before, and also, Kenny Aronson and people, Aronoff rather, not Aronson, the bass player. Aronoff is the drummer, a great drummer too. Now let's talk about music videos. Coming up as a kid, seeing music videos, of course, there was a time in there in the 90s when heavy rock was ruling. Really Guns N' Roses and Metallica and even ZZ Top, and then it sort of went more towards hip hop. And do you think that grunge, when it came in, sort of killed heavy rock a bit? You think we lost a lot of people to it?
I do. First of all, I have to say it's funny because as I mentioned, my parents were a little overprotective, but I'm grateful for it now. But I was not allowed to watch MTV. So I just have to put that out there. Obviously it didn't work because look what I do for my life here. So
that's why you heard music better though. You didn't have to see it.
Yeah, maybe.
You had to hear it, maybe,
Okay, boy, you were really, they were probably had you reading books and stuff.
Yeah, I even went outside. It was the weirdest thing. But, I do think it did, because I wasn't into it. Like, that didn't inspire me grunge didn't inspire me to pick up guitar. But I love those bands now. Like, I mean, I love Alice in Chains and Nirvana, I listen to that stuff, but it did not inspire me to perform music, to want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you'd seen Poison or, LA Guns or, all that, there was something about that period that was great.
I'm a lighthearted like, I like to have fun. I don't like to, like, be sulking around in misery.
Moody. Yeah. Well, you're a very natural performer. I'm sure that you had to come out of your shell at some point. When you first came out playing, were you just did you come out of the room and kick guys' asses all over the place with your guitar playing? I mean, was it, yeah.
I think I did, but I think the fact that I didn't know any other girls that did it, and so there was a lot of pressure, it made me have to practice a lot and want to, show them up. So that, I think, worked to my advantage. It fueled me in the beginning a lot. So yeah, I think that was a good thing, but yeah, I mean, after, getting into the heavy stuff, I did get into all the hair bands like Poison and Motley Crue and like that. And I loved that fun 80s vibe, and I got into Vixen. And so it's just,
well, we could talk about that.
Circle, but yeah.
First you had Jaded, which produced by Gary Katz, who I know from me knowing Donald Fagen and working with him. So, and Gary, I mean, that's like not somebody that just jumps on any project. It must have been fun working with him. He knows so much about sounds and things. When you first went into this, was that your first studio experience with Jaded?
We had another one, but that was the first more real professional experience in the studio. Yeah.
And what was your rig? Do you remember what you were using?
I loved at the time, I had a Peavey XXX head that I just attached to, very attached. And I loved all the 80s rack gear. Like I had, my favorite is the Alesis Quadriverb. I just was obsessed with that. Needed it.
Well, that's that big 80s sound, that you had to sound big. It wasn't about doing it later. You had to get the sound yourself, right? I mean, you wanted to record the sound.
Yeah.
And loud, I'll bet, because you want the moving some air, I'm not into, I've gone to see bands that have like a quiet stage. I don't know if you've experienced this.
It's so weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it's the weirdest thing when you're standing on the side and watching something and you hear nothing coming off the stage except drums, and everybody's got in-ears and their amps are in the back in little houses and stuff.
It's strange. It's like, it's hard to get the same vibe. I think it does. Do you think it affects the performers?
I think it does. For me, I had sat in with some people, and I sat in with a pretty big name guitar player, and he handed me a guitar, and he handed me some ear monitors. And I said, well, where's the amp? He goes, the amp's, in the back. It's off stage. And I was up there, and it's like just coming through my head. I'm not feeling anything on stage. The music should be going through you, the bass, the drums, everything should be loud, and to me, it's, you can't groove the same way, our hearing is going to go anyway. It might as well go playing guitar, getting the sound you want. I don't know. I mean, even when people say, hey, let's use like 15-watt amps, you're going to turn it up for some more, and you can't get it. And it's just, no, loud, better to be loud. Well, now you did what? How many albums with Jaded? A couple of records? 2, 3?
Yeah. 3. Yeah, 3. Yeah.
And then a Broadway experience happens. An off-Broadway experience in Queens, my old neighborhood.
Oh, yes. We were in Queens Theater in the Park. That was so fun.
The Chick 6, yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool lineup with a bunch of very cool women rockers that I'm still friends with today. And that was a neat experience. I had never really done anything like that. I was never in, theater groups or anything like that. So it was a new vibe for me.
Well, you start to understand that there's a Broadway version of rock and roll.
Right.
Director, as opposed to just getting out there, somebody telling you how to act while you're playing this solo. It's good training though, because it's another, really a singer has to be a really good actor to sell a song.
Right.
As does a guitar player, you know, because if you just stand there and don't do anything, you see, people they hear with their eyes, you know, too.
Very true.
That's important. I mean, we know we can play, but can you make show is another thing. And that brings me around to, because I checked out a couple of interviews you did, and I heard a funny story. Well, we could talk about Paradise Kitty, which is that's your Guns N' Roses, all women Guns N' Roses band.
Yeah.
Was that just ongoing, or just sort of you did it and that was fun? And
I did it. It was fun. I really loved it, but I'd do it again. But, you know, it's hard to, I have trouble being in multiple bands at the same time when everybody wants you to have availability. It's stressful. It's stressful to be like, oh, you know, I got double booked and who do I tell? You know, so I try to just stick with one thing at a time.
But as part of our education, when you have to learn Slash's guitar parts, and who's brilliant, his parts are brilliant. You know, he's a good friend of mine, and I only say this, you know, I don't say this because he's a friend of mine, but he's also one of the best all-around, well-rounded guitar players that would rather sit there with a wah-wah and play a funk song all day long. But when it comes time to work in the studio, those guys, all of them, the parts that they put together, I mean, you find out how to construct songs by deconstructing them. So you guys probably learned a lot doing a project like that.
It's so true. It is the best learning experience. It really is. Yeah. And especially in two guitar player bands where you see how the different parts weave in and out, and the different tones you get to kind of separate. It was, I loved learning all of it. It was really a fun project.
And now you're the one guitar player. So you're in a trio basically with the lead singer. You're in like a version of Led Zeppelin now with Vixen.
True. Yes.
Not Led Zeppelin, who I really love, by the way. I don't know if you know those ladies.
I do. They are very cool.
They're great. Yeah. They're very cool. But you're now, it's on you. So you're like Eddie kind of too. You know, I mean, your tone is, you do have the Brown sound. I will say that. You've got the sound. and it's funny because I looked at a couple of videos with you and Vixen and said, well, this is like, you know, being in Led Zeppelin or being in Van Halen or a trio with a singer. It doesn't get better than that for a lead guitar player, does it? I mean,
no, it's fun because you have freedom and I love it. I enjoy it.
And you got a really good rhythm section. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We have a killer rhythm section. So it's very, very fun. I love it.
So are you working on new music with them at all? Or
We are. It is, I will say it's going slower than we thought, but we thought we'd have an album out by now, but with the COVID thing and everything.
Oh yeah. But
and we all live in all parts of the country. So it's not like we can just get together and jam at somebody's house and work on stuff. So it's been slow, but we are writing and everybody writes. So it's pretty cool. And it's very like inclusive, and everybody was, you know, allowed to write their own parts and do their own thing. So it's going to be cool when we finally record it. I'll tell you that.
I mean, do you have your own project also? Or I mean, are you writing your own and singing your own songs? Or I'm not sure. Are you a lead singer?
I wouldn't call myself a lead singer, but I have during this time been working on some solo stuff that, is in the works also, but I'm definitely making progress, and I'm feeling more confident as a lead singer now. So that is helpful.
But you guys, Vixen, you guys write together, right? So is it sort of a group effort? I love that. You know?
It's awesome. And and the last time we kind of just went around the room, it was like, okay, nobody, like, leave all your ideas at the door. Let's just vibe right here, right now.
Yeah.
Super present. And it was like, we kind of went around. It was like, okay, Roxy, you start a beat and then we'll come in. Okay. Or Britt, you start with a guitar riff for the next one. And we just kind of it was on the fly and very organic and cool.
Well, that's what the Stones do. You know, the Stones get together and they jam like that, but they get together at a top price studio rate and record everything. And then they sit there, Mick and Keith sit there and they start editing and building songs from riffs and parts. I mean, really, I think it's a much better way to work than somebody coming in. Here's how it goes. You feel like you're not part of the band or process, then you're just could be a side person in that way. And you had to do that anyway to learn all the other songs. But I'm sure you brought yourself into it, which is the way we do. You know, you say, I don't want to do that. I want to kind of do this here. Did that work out okay, or were they pretty?
They were cool. It's kind of unavoidable. It's like you can never sound. Some people can sound exactly like somebody else, but I mean, what's the point? I mean, I do try to play the parts and the notes and everything, but you always have your own flair, your own vibrato, your own, thing. So,
which you have a great one, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Are you playing a wrist vibrato or finger vibrato, or?
I'm a wrist kind of.
Yeah. That, because I can't get that Clapton one together either, where you're just like, your whole hand is off the guitar. I have a little trouble with that one myself.
That one is tricky. I know what you mean. Yes.
Yeah. And I find that B.B. King one is that one where you're sort of rocking the wrist.
Right. That one's okay for the little up high ones with just, but yeah, I know. Yeah.
And and it's funny too, because we all have our things that we latch onto that when we start playing, we don't know how important they are. Vibrato, if it comes natural, when you hear it, and not overbending, all those things we do at first, being in tune. I mean, sometimes a kid will pick up a guitar and do something. You say, man, I would never do that. Look at that. Show me how you did that, to somebody that's just starting. So did you get any direction? I mean, your parents, you didn't go to Berkeley. You're in Boston,
I didn't. I wanted to. I really wanted to. That was an argument we had when it was time for me to go to college. And my dad was just like, did Jimi Hendrix go to Berkeley? Did Santana go to Berkeley? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, if you're going to be a rock star, I guess you'll figure it out on your own, because that's what they did.
The best advice you could have gotten, probably.
It was good. And at the time, too, I was playing around with some kids that had already graduated, and they were at the time working at, coffee shops and stuff. And so that my parents were like, I don't get it. Didn't John just graduate from Berkeley? What's he doing working at Starbucks? I don't get it. And I'm like, well, it's a process. Like, a musician is not just like, okay, I got my law degree, I'm going to go work for a law firm. It doesn't work like that. It's a lot harder.
The one thing they can't do is tell you how to work. Or there's a lot of people have been so long in the practice room, they don't even have the social skills to get a gig, because that it's not what or who it's that opportunity when that door opens is to be able to ready and do it. It doesn't open all the time. And some people sit around and say, why is nobody calling me? I have my degree from Berkeley. Well, you haven't got any experience playing on the bandstand or playing with others, and I think you're a worker. Personally, I look at your resume of stuff, and you're somebody that didn't necessarily want to be the star. You wanted to be the guitar player backing up the star, which is always something I wanted too. And I think, you want to be Nancy Wilson. You don't want to be Ann Wilson. You want to be Jimmy Page. You don't want to be Robert Plant. Where you become a worker is more healthy, I think, than the illusion of I can be a rock star. I don't think being a rock star was your intention. I think it was being a musician.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I've always loved the collaboration aspect of being in a band, and just feeling like, having a bond. My favorite thing is just, and I love that with Vixen now. It's like we're all like a kind of like a family. I love the family vibe when bands can gel like that. And it's not just like, okay, we're getting together, but we hate each other, but you're a good drummer, so I guess I'll, play with you. I just love when it's true, like love and bonding. And I think that comes through so much on stage and in the music too.
Well, being scattered around the country helps that, because you don't see each other every day. You don't live it's not like the Monkees where you live in the same house, all day long together.
Yeah, that would be different.
So speaking of working and people learning their trade better, beyond playing, your involvement with Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp is a very important thing, I think. Now, how did that hookup happen, and exactly what's going on with you there?
Yeah. So, I had heard about Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp for a few years, and I was like, I moved to LA about 6 years ago, and I had heard people talk about it. I had mutual friends that were doing it. And I was like, what is this exactly? So one day I was just like, I got to do some research. I really need to know what this is. And I thought it was so cool. I did a bunch of research on David, and I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And I love doing, getting involved in different things. And I love helping people and giving back, and just, meeting people and the whole thing about rock camp, I realized, is that like, it really changes people's lives. So I wanted to be a part of it. So I was a counselor at my first camp a couple of years ago. And it was everything I thought it would be. It was like, you met the coolest people. You saw such transformations from when they first started the camp. And it's only 4 days. And the transformations are huge. It's crazy.
Huge.
Level, it's not even necessarily, it is with their instruments, but it's more internal even. And it's just like, wow, that, like, this person just came out of their shell. They're almost unrecognizable. It's awesome. So I just, loved it. And then after the camp, David and I were talking, and he had heard that so I ended up going to Northeastern for music business. That was my backup plan.
Well, your father's happy, believe me.
And, so I did learn some good business skills, which I'm able to use now. And I had done some other music industry jobs previously too. And so David was like, I love that you know the business side of things and you're a musician, so you get it and you can talk to both types of people. And we started working together. And as soon as we started working together, really COVID hit, and right when we were planning the new camps. And so it was like, damn. And then we were just talking, and he was like, I've always wanted to bring rock camp online somehow to reach people that can't maybe get to rock camp or that live overseas, or so we started these online master classes that we did over Zoom, and we did over 160 during the real shutdown.
Wow.
And I hosted them all, and it was amazing. And we got some really amazing talent to do it. And it was an interesting time too, because people weren't selling a record. They weren't doing promo for a tour. It was like, just, here I am. We're all vulnerable right now. We don't know if we're ever going to step on stage again. This is so bizarre. And so let's just talk. And here I am. And I can stay longer than the hour because I got nowhere to be. And this is fun. And I'm finally able to connect, with other people.
I understand it, because I begrudgingly did one for David Fishoff, who David Fishoff has a way, he does. Of like, you cannot say no to David Fishoff. He's such a great guy, and it's such a visionary, actually. So to be working with him in any capacity is always a good thing. But to actually show up at the camp, not knowing what was going to happen the first time. And I went with a bunch of guys that I have on a Beatle thing, and Elliot Easton was there, and another Boston kind of stalwart, Elliot. And I think Johnny A was there. It was like all these guys, and some women were there too, because now we know, and the inclusivity of women is a wonderful thing now. And so we went and got together, and you put a band, basically, people out there who don't know, counselors get to work with put a band together. And the band has sort of a battle of the bands kind of a thing at the end, right? There's a show after 4 days, and it's boot camp. It's like, you have 4 days to learn this thing, and you find some people are incredibly fast, and then some people are a little slower at it, but when they get it, it's happening. And people learn to work together on a project, which is the main thing. So a lot of people get humbled that walk in there feeling, and a lot of other people get empowered walking in there. So you get a little bit of both. And I'm not that savvy to the limit. Is there an age limit with Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp? Is 16 the age, or is it before that?
Yeah, usually we have had some minors, but they are usually with an adult. But it's more adults. But there's, if you're of age, you can be there by yourself. But yeah.
Do you feel as a woman a responsibility to draw in more women, or are they just coming naturally now
into that situation?
I do feel a responsibility to draw more women in. I still believe that, of course, we're very inclusive in society now, more so than ever, but it's still a male dominated industry, rock and roll. There's still more guys in rock and roll. There just is. And so in fact, our very first camp back for next year in 2022 is a women's only camp. And I'm very excited about that, because I just think there are a lot of women that may not be super confident in their skills because of, because it's male dominated, and you don't have as many women to jam with. I've been lucky. I've always found cool women to jam with, and I love that. And there's a huge difference between being in a band with guys and then an all girl band, and the all girl band's no drama. I'll just say that right off the bat. People think no it's only drama when guys come in. We have a great time being like, so.
Well, I've only experienced seeing the women who are at the top of the game, and they're few and far, far between, because, if it wasn't for like Prince hiring, women, and my friend Kat Dyson worked with him, and Michael Jackson with Jennifer Batten and some other women coming in, we wouldn't see them so much. They've been around, of course, as singer-songwriters, but as like, the Eagles the Eagles need a guitar player. Can it be a woman? Why not? Why can't it be a woman? They can't even sing the high parts anymore. So right. The whole thing is that yes, I've seen drummers that have blown my mind, because I think drumming is a mother instinct. A mother can do all these things at once. She's got 2 kids and she's cooking at the same time. No problem playing the drums. That's nothing. But I think that the heartbeat, the drummers that I know are just amazing players. And I think now there's, a lot of women bass players too that we didn't see for a long time. And keyboard players, there were more. But a group like Fleetwood Mac showed us that, but they had a lot of drama because of the guys involved, of course. But they showed us, I think that was probably one of the first, sort of integrated groups with males and females. That wasn't a folk band or something. That was a hard ass band, that was a kicking band.
Yeah. Big time. Yeah. I think it's awesome. And I don't know why. I think maybe it kind of comes from like guys join a band to be cool. They got like their guy gang.
It's like gangs. It's gangs.
Chicks and like, why would I have a chick in the band if I'm trying to pick up chicks and like, I don't know, and be cool with the dudes. So anyways, and that's kind of like, the whole women's only thing is just going to be like this space for like everybody to be totally honest. We have Melissa Etheridge. We have Nancy Wilson, Orianthi, Kathy Valentine, the Go-Go's. Yeah. It's going to be just like cool, because I think too, and I'm not a feminist or anything. I mean, I'm equal for everybody, but I think that women do encounter different things trying to make it in the music business that men don't. It just is. And so,
and plus the conversation can be open between you all.
That's what I mean. Totally open, judgment free. Nobody's offending anybody. It's just, so I think it's going to be really cool.
Now it's kind of a given that, so what? It doesn't matter. The roles were defined in rock and roll early on. Chick singer, right? That's it. It doesn't even have to play guitar or anything, but always, where was the power coming from? Janice Joplin was coming from her, not the band. So I think that we're in healthy times right now. If we can just get the country healthy as far as the COVID thing goes, and the thing is, I don't know, when was the last time you played for a giant audience? Like,
Giant. Yeah. It's been a while. We just started gigging back last month. And they were mostly outdoor shows, and we had some, great crowds and stuff, but, our first festival back this year is going to be Milwaukee Summerfest. So that should be a good crowd, hopefully. But hopefully that's
outdoors, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of things people are trying. They're moving out there. Is getting canceled now and then. Someone in the band gets sick. The whole tour gets shut down again. I guess we're going to have bumps. We're going to have to keep continuing, I guess. So gear, let's just quickly hit on gear. How are you a pedal freak, or just have the right stuff that you need, or are you constantly exploring with pedals?
I used to be a constant pedal explorer, and I have a closet full of pedals that I currently don't use. I went completely the other way the past few years. I am feeling like less is more. And I don't know if it's because I always do fly gigs now. And so I just don't want to carry anything that might have something to do with it. But at the same time, like more pedals, more problems.
Are you renting gear a lot though? Or is your gear?
We get everything backline for the most part. I like to fly with I got a great, right over here, actually, a Hughes and Kettner, travel kind of size tube head. It's awesome. I love that thing.
So whatever 412 cabinet or whatever you're using with that.
I usually get Marshall stuff backline, and then for cabinets and everything like that. And I downsized even to the mini pedals, the micro size,
Yes, I know. I just ordered a couple myself. I said, I don't know if I can see them even, but yeah.
But you know what? It's just, they all fit in my backpack. I just, I don't like it very much, and it's just so easy. But now all I really use is a boost, an analog delay, and a wah. That's
really, really great.
That's really great.
And then I feel like too, if you're just, doing a quick throw and go set, like, layers of choruses and all these things I used to do, I notice it. I really don't know if the average listener is getting any of that, or if it makes a huge difference half the time. And half the time something's not working, and to figure that out on stage. And the digital pedal boards, forget it. If I have on a big tour with like a team and the tech, that's like, okay. But for just regular life, I can't be bothered. Like, it's just so much easier. And I like a clean tone now. I like to hear the guitar. I like to hear the tone. I don't need a lot of stuff.
What's an amazing thing that young players need to discover? And I mean, not to say that you're not young, you are young, but you obviously have an old spirit in your ears that says, wait a minute, that first live Van Halen album I got, that's the guitar, I believe, into an Echoplex preamp into the Marshall, and that's it, okay? And that's it. And it sounds pretty damn good, right? And then you got a front of house guy that can add anything you need. But the other thing is, when you have your guitar turned fully up and it's killing, you should be able to turn it down and it cleans up, which is what Hendrix did. It's what Stevie Ray did. The problem with a volume pedal is your guitar is opened all the time. So you get the same sound, just softer. When you actually use your volume pedal, all of a sudden, the amount of tones you can get from 0 to 10 or 11 is pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. And I just realized that that's what I do now. I just use this Magnatone that Billy Gibbons turned me on to, and it has a master volume. So I can, it's still pretty loud. It's still 80 watts. That's enough.
That's enough, yeah. Yeah, I love that though. You're so right. No, the regular natural tone, you don't need to be switching channels. You don't need a light, a dirty, a heavy channel. Yeah, it's just, you can just do it all with, your hands.
So advice for the kids that are watching, hopefully, the young ladies and the young guys, anybody that's getting into this thing that we're into, and I've been doing it somebody reminded me I've been doing this for over 50 years. Okay. So it just goes by, the time goes by, and it's been a joy all the way, and it's going to be a joy all the way to the end. But when you're just starting, is there something that you have encountered? You said, I wish that I knew this when I was a kid. Is there something you can offer to young people?
I would just say, to be good at anything, it takes time and patience, and you have to be patient with yourself. And I actually don't think that I am very musically adept naturally. Like, I don't think that's my God-given talent at all. I had to work hard to do it. It doesn't come natural to me, and that's okay. It doesn't have to come natural to you. You just have to want it. And also not to compare yourself to other people, because, if you just think right off the bat, you start playing, oh my God, why don't I sound like Jimi Hendrix? What is wrong with me? I give up. That's not the point. The point of you picking up the instrument is not to sound exactly like Jimi Hendrix. We all have our own personalities, and that's just amplified by the guitar, and it should come out in that. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what art is. And so I think comparing yourself to others, I did that a lot and was like very shy about playing and coming up, showing people my ideas, but it's okay. Like, you just have to accept yourself and not look to be accepted by others, because it's about you and your art and being creative and putting it out there. And I think that's important.
It is important, because there's a misconception that, if I get the guitar that he or she plays, if I get the exact rig they have, but you don't, everyone's hands are the part. and their heart and their head. All that is what's missing. You know, you can do it over and over. We make this mistake as guitar players. I need that because Jimi Hendrix played that rig, that setup. Well, yeah, but he could plug straight into a twin and sound like Jimi Hendrix. You know, so I agree with you 100%. Don't be discouraged, you know, because it's like I said before, that kid that picks it up the first time is going to do something we never thought of. Because that kid's not thinking. They're just feeling it out, you know, and it's amazing when you think about it. It does mirror your soul, the music you play. And that's all you can hope for that, then you're doing good. But this has been a real pleasure meeting you and talking to you, and we'll have a cook-off one day. But I certainly do want to say that I was not aware of your music until we set this up. So I will be talking about you a bit more outside of this interview. And I think you really got something special.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you. So fun talking to you. And yeah, really happy to be a part of this. And we'll have to have a Pinocchio's meeting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Get in line. You know, the trough there is great. They make a pretty good meatball, but it's not, you know, not quite grandma. Not quite grandma.
Oh, and I've also got to tell you that we're going to be doing a new Beatles camp, and you have been requested. Your presence has been.
Oh, I'll be there if you'll be there.
I'll be there.
We'll be there. Okay, good. That'll be great. Yeah, I want to come. I want to come to a new Beatles camp because they just keep putting the product out over and over again. More people are getting turned on to it over and over again. And yeah, that's the beauty of rock camp. You know, there's a niche for everybody there. And if I show up at the heavy metal camp, I'm going to be asking you, please show me something. I don't know. And so there's something going on with a contest with Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. If I get back to that, is there some kind? Should we talk about that? You think?
Yes. So there will be a contest if you sign up. I don't know exactly what all the rules are going to be, but basically, if you sign up for the mailing list for the Green Room and social media for the Green Room and for Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, you will be entered in to win an all-inclusive, absolute ultimate VIP level ticket pass to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, which would include, you know, your pass, the groupie pass. You can bring somebody with you, you know, the photography package, signed guitar by all the rock stars. There's a recording package where you actually get to go in with a really big producer and record a song with your band, and flights and meals and hotel. And so that's going to be something.
Wow. That sounds like an over 10 grand package, 10 grand plus package, or at least. Okay, Britt, so if you don't mind running through those 4 or 5 steps for me, I have the 12-bar, attention span of a guitar player. After 12 bars, I forget everything, or when I've been to 12 bars. But anyway, so would you mind running those steps by us all out here?
Absolutely. So step 1, you want to sign up for the Green Room with Jimmy Vivino on YouTube. Step 2, you want to sign up at rockcamp.com on our newsletter. Step 3, you want to follow at Jimmy V Music on Instagram, and then follow Rock Camp at Rock Fantasy Camp on Instagram. And you can mention the promo code Green Room when you sign up and get a special gift. And then you can also follow me, Britt Lightning, on Instagram.
That sounds great. I'll do that. I do that anyway. But okay, so give us an idea of what's gone by recently and what's coming up in the future.
Yeah. So since January, we've had some awesome camps. So great to have the live camps back. Our first one was a metal camp with Dave Mustaine of Megadeth, Steve Morse of Deep Purple, and Nico McBrain of Iron Maiden. That was amazing. We did that down in Deerfield Beach, Florida. After that, we did a Sounds of Seattle camp with Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains and Kim Thayil of Soundgarden, which was super cool. And then we had Dave Clusin on drums, the original drummer for Pearl Jam. So everybody got to jam the album 10 with him. That was really cool at the Whiskey Go-Go. We did that in LA. And then let's see, what else did we have? We did, Joe Perry in Florida as well. We had Joe Perry of Aerosmith, Tico Torres of Bon Jovi, and gosh, we've had so many. Who was the other guest at that camp? Tico Torres and, Vernon Reid, of course, of Living Colour, who's amazing.
Wow, that's amazing, that those three. I mean, I know all of those guys. Tico has the lowest voice in the world.
He was so nice. He was great. And then just had Scorpions camp with Rudolph and Matthias of Scorpions in Las Vegas, also with Sebastian Bach and Zach Wilde. So pretty awesome. That was in Vegas at a new location that we just opened. And then coming up, we've got our first ever songwriting fantasy camp in Nashville, April 7 to 10.
Great idea.
Yeah. And that's going to be with Desmond Child. We've got Emmy Lou Harris coming. We've got John Hyatt, Marty Fredrickson, Steve Cropper, Damon Johnson, so many more. And so that'll be really interesting and different for us. And then our final camp on the books is our women's only camp featuring Melissa Etheridge, Nancy Wilson of Heart, Kathy Valentine of the Go-Go's, and Orianthi. And that's in Los Angeles over Mother's Day weekend, May 6th through 9.
But I want to go to that. Okay.
I know. Well, we do have a man cave package for those men that want to go, but you're going to be a little sad.
I totally get it, though. I totally get it. I get it. You can talk about us, and we won't know what you're saying.
That's what we want. That's
well, you do it in song anyway, but that's a great idea. Well, what else?
And then those are the ones that are announced so far. And then in October, secretly, we are planning a Beatles camp in New York in October. We've got plans for a jam band camp with members of Fish and all sorts of fun stuff. So well,
that's going to be a long camp.
Yeah, exactly. Each song is going to be a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got so many ideas. We're going to bring in new artists we've never had before. And we're just having fun brainstorming and thinking of new ways we can bring.
Boy, but that's a great idea. No one really thinks about that there is an art to the jam, you know, and most of it's about listening. And it's not about waiting your turn to play and then it's about finding that weave part that goes in there to make the jam. I mean, that's a great idea for a camp because a lot of people don't naturally, they think about, okay, I'm just going to play this until it's my turn to play. But there's so much more. If you had ever played with or seen what Bob Weir does, he's a master of of maneuvering a jam. And that's something that I might want to go to that one.
I know, right? Well, you're invited to any camp always.
Yeah, well, except the women's one, but that's okay.
Right. Well,
my legs, you know.
You could dress up.
Yeah, but my legs aren't that good anymore, you know. But anyway, this is great. This is great. So I think it's been a real pleasure speaking with you, and I hope to meet you in person one day.
I know. I can't wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for my guest, Britt Lightning, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Great to be here.
See you next time on The Green Room.